Welcome and join your blended family, all the B fams out there. What is up? We are excited to bring another episode today. You know, it's always fun when we can get together and just be able to share, connect, and have fun doing it, but really bring this powerful information and learning through each other. And that is exactly what we're doing today.
We have special guests coming on.
What?
We do.
Are you kidding?
They are like the OGs of step family help. Yeah.
Nice.
We have Lori and David from Nacho Kids Academy.
Nacho Kids. When we first became a step family, just like you, we didn't quite know what we were getting into.
Scarlett and Randall Tandy here from Enjoying Your Blended Family, and we have been a blended family for over 15 years. And not only did we have to figure out how to handle the day-to-day struggles that come with being in a step family, about 7 years in, our biggest fear happened and each of our kids went to go live with their other parent.
We went through seasons of zero connection with each one of our kids, and we had to get really creative on ways to reestablish and reconnect those relationships.
And through prayer and becoming very intentional, God restored our family in true God-like fashion and made it better than we could have ever imagined or hoped for.
So God has called us to help other families do the same thing, to make those connections. So if you're looking for stronger relationships, deeper connections, and more communication, then we believe it truly starts with being intentional and creating these fun opportunities in our family.
Click the link so that you can get quick access to the process that we use to help you find common interests in your family so that you can be more intentional on spending time with your kids, your spouse, and your family as a whole.
We believe you can take the step out of step family and create a blended family that you truly enjoy.
You can find our podcast on Enjoying Your Blended Family on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And while you're sitting there, go ahead and follow us on social media.
So when you have more fun, you'll see less problems. So I act like I'm surprised, but I did know this. I did know it. I'm not, I was here, but, but we are so excited to have Lori and David here with Nacho Kids. How are y'all doing today, guys?
Doing great. I feel like we can say, hey, y'all, and you know what we're saying.
Hey, exactly. Yeah, no, that's us. Y'all is in our dictionary for sure. I said Texas.
Every sentence for 100%. Every sentence, y'all.
Y'all. Yep.
And y'all are South Carolina. So do y'all have the y'all as well?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So y'all are big y'alls. It's just a Southern thing.
Y'all.
It's a Southern thing. Yeah. I sit there and even, depending on the emails or texting what I'm doing, I'm like, oh, maybe I should take that y'all out. I don't know.
Always leave the y'all.
Always leave the y'all.
It gives a character. That's my opinion.
Just do it.
Yeah. It's just, is it the double L's or the W? That's the only thing.
No, it's Y apostrophe A
L
A-L double L. Yeah.
It's the y'alls. It gets me when it's possessive because really it's Y apostrophe A-L-L apostrophe.
When you throw in a W somewhere, it's like, wait, what? Y'all.
Y'all.
Like
we're so excited to have y'all here. Seriously, I mean, we've listened to y'all's podcast as well, and I just we love it whenever we can connect with each other who's kind of in the same realm and just bring different sides, different thoughts, and just different stories into the blended family.
Yeah, actually, when we first started going, okay, like we're gonna help blended families or step families in, because we didn't even really call it blended. And we started looking up stuff. Just, y'all know I like to say too much information and share too much, but we looked it up and we saw Nacho Kids Academy and read y'all's bio and thought, that is the worst advice ever.
I love it.
Just to be honest. And I know that y'all know that because y'all get this kind of back and forth all the time. And if you're on any kind of Facebook forum and people start complaining about their stepkids, people start saying, you got a nacho, you got a nacho, you got a nacho. And then I hear how they nacho and I think, what in the world? This is the worst advice ever. But then I decided, you know what? I'm not going to write them off because of what these people on the Facebook are saying. Let me look into it and really research it for myself. And I began to see really at the core of what y'all are saying and doing is at the heart of what we believe here as well. Y'all's just has a fun, catchy name. And so it brings in, just that mindset of like, okay, those are not your kids. So can you just like, first, let's open up with a little bit of y'all's family dynamics, like what makes up your blended family? And then let's get into like, what was y'all's come to Jesus, y'all's Nacho story moment that happened for you guys?
Okay, I know this is my part. He always makes me do this part. We've been married 14 years, a little over 14 years, right?
140, I think.
Yeah.
But
Well, we say that a
Feels like
blended
it, right?
year is, a blended year is like dog years. One regular year is 10 blended years or whatever. You know what I'm saying? David has 4 sons. Avery is now 25.
Mhm.
The triplets are 23.
Yep.
And I have an 18-year-old son. So you can subtract 14 and figure out how old they were from back then. And we prepared for this blend stuff because we knew it wouldn't be easy. And we read books and talked to people and preachers and took surveys and all this stuff. And we started blending. And about year 2, everything went to crap, like bad. And we realized that it wasn't working. It wasn't going to work. And we had went to a counselor that I knew. And we had actually met with him prior to blending to get some advice on the blend. And we went to see him and he kept telling me, Lori, they're not your kids. And I'm like, but Mr. Butler, they, I need them to have good hygiene. I want them to grow up and be fine, outstanding young men. He's like, Lori, they're not your kids. And it hurt my feelings really at first because I cared about them. But then he kept saying that and I was getting aggravated with him. Thank goodness he knew I was hard-headed. But we went to leave and in the parking lot, I looked at David and I said, all he said to me is, they are Nacho Kids. And we started laughing. And it was the first time we had laughed in at least 6 months, if not longer. And that's when it hit me. And it really is like the clouds parted and the rays came down from heaven. And I got it. They're not my kids. They don't want me to tell them to brush their teeth. They want dad to do that. And it's not that he didn't care if they brushed their teeth, but he was doing what we had read was to let me be kind of the mom in the home. And it just didn't work that way.
Well, just hearing you say that laughter moment, I mean, that is, again, that's the core of what we believe. Like your family needs more of that. They need that joy. And so for y'all to be able to have that moment, not only that moment to break the ice and for your realization, but really it spurred what has now created moments like that for families all over the world to have this experience of being able to step back because there's so much pressure. That's how I felt. I was trying to raise our kids in this nuclear family environment. We got rid of the other parents that were obviously the problem, right? And now,
right.
now we had this household that we were raising these children, and I'm the mom of the household. He's the dad of the household, and we were the sane ones in our family. So obviously, we were going to get it right and do everything right this go around. And there was static. You just can't do things the same way. If I said something that he might wholeheartedly agree with and believe in, but because it came out of my mouth, it isn't heard and received the same way as if it was to come out of his mouth. And it's hard to get that in your head, that you don't just automatically earn that respect just because you were married to the child's parent.
Right. And that's where we often see, and I know you see it as well, people can live together for 10 years in a quote, quote, blended family. Then they get married and something changes. And all of a sudden they're thinking, what happened? We've been together 10 years and all of a sudden we have issues. It changed. The dynamics changed and it reset the blend.
Yeah. And we saw that even with our kids, and we had dated a year and decided to get married. We had asked the kids, what do y'all think? And that got their blessings. Everything was good. And it was maybe the week before the wedding, my daughter comes up to me and says, Dad, I don't want you to marry her. I'm like, what? It's like, and we talked about this, we bought the flowers. I don't know.
Now, no going back.
Like, oh no. Yeah, David's kids, one of them, the oldest triplet, he was so excited about us getting married. And we didn't have the issues right before the marriage, but like I said, 2 years in, and he ended up being the ringleader for Burn Lori at the stake.
Yeah, and you see that, and it takes, it just takes time, and to be able to kind of know as the bonus parents place, kind of, to be able to step back, to be able to, and we always say that you're not stepping back. You're just letting the biological parent take the parental front, and you and your spouse, y'all are kind of talking on the backgrounds and just making sure you're on the same page and kind of talking through issues, challenges. But then whenever you're giving the discipline or the talking or thing, it's always coming from that biological parent. And to be able to kind of approach that mindset is challenging at first, but then we always know through the course of years, as your blending really starts coming together, then you can start seeing the shift a little bit. And then that bonus parent can then, now you've earned that trust. Now that child knows you're not leaving. You're there. You love them. You are a parental figure in their life. But yeah, that initial and sometimes it takes years, 10 years before that even happens. So yeah, it's always different for everybody in their situation. But so y'all have coined the term nacho. So, and that's really cool. And so who needs to nacho and why?
Any step parent that is struggling in their blend needs to nacho.
And kind of explain nacho.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, kind of explain the nacho, kind of y'all's method behind that.
David?
Yeah, well, this is always a tough answer because the term nacho or nachoing is kind of taken on its own little persona, so to speak. And when somebody usually says nacho or nachoing, like you said earlier, like you should nacho, they're typically saying you need to step back, or you need to, some people say disengage. So that's typically the part of it that most people relate to. But the actual term nachoing or the Nacho Kids method is really a big encompassing program that we take people through. And that's why we can confidently say, anybody who's struggling needs to nacho, because there are always elements of what we teach that would fit nearly any situation. It doesn't mean they're all the same, and it doesn't mean that everything works for everybody, but ultimately there's some aspect of it that you can pull out and say, okay, this is for us, and this is what we need to focus on, but it might not be for Johnny and Martha over there, but it's for us. And so we look at things holistically to say, if you're doing something where you're trying to do some personal development with whether it's individually or as a couple, then there are things in there for that as well. So that's kind of a long answer to it because it's a little complicated to respond to, because it's more than just disengaging, and we don't want people to get hung up on, oh, well, if you just step back, that's all there is to it.
No, that's the pressure reliever, as David would say.
Yeah, you're not solving anything. You're just relieving the pressure so that you can start doing some triage.
Right. And the goal is to re-engage with your stepkids in a role that works for everyone. And that's what a lot of people seem to forget. Oh, I'm just going to quote, nacho. And then a lot of people think that's ignoring or dismissing the stepkids like they don't matter. And that's not the case. It is stepping back, letting the relationships form naturally, not trying to force this nuclear family stuff on the blend, letting the bio parent, because they have that love filter that the kid sees. And you've got to build those relationships. And it's hard when, especially women, and I'm not bashing women, of course, but we come in, like you said, and we want to fix everything. We're going to have this perfect family because, like you said, we got rid of the trash. We're good now. We're good to go. And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. And I hope when y'all hear us say that, we're saying it very sarcastically. If you listen to either of us, Nacho Kids or Randall and I speak, like, we know that there was a lot of fault in there. And so we say that jokingly because in the beginning, I mean, I really did believe that. And I'm sure y'all did too as well, because you divorced those people for a reason. And you're like, okay, now that we got rid of the problem, now we can move forward and do this thing right. And so I'm glad that you
So
did.
you mean I was the problem too?
Randall's still working on, he hasn't done all the self-work that I have.
Randall, we'll give you a discount on the Nacho Kids Academy because you can
you.
use it for normal life stuff.
Appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
But yeah, I did want to point out a couple of things. That one, if it's working for your family and what y'all are doing is working, by all means, do not start nachoing. Don't pull back. Don't stop parenting. If your dynamics, y'all have come into it and it is meshing, don't fix what isn't broken, right? But if you find yourself complaining about your stepkids, complaining about your spouse not stepping up and doing the things that they should be doing in your home, okay, let's try something different instead of doing the same thing over and over. And nachoing is one of those things that you can start. And so that's what I wanted to kind of point out next. And maybe you can give us some main things that people nacho, because you don't start nachoing necessarily everything, right? Is there some things that
I did.
I
did straight it out the gate, everything.
Well, was that a healthy way to do it, or like, did that work for you? Or
for us, for us in the situation we were in, there was, yes, it was healthy.
That was
because we were at the point of divorce. And so it was, we were on life support, if you want to call it that. Like we need something to change, and we needed to change today, because tomorrow I'm going to talk to an attorney.
A lot of people don't understand that nachoing for you might be different than it is for me, but it never involves parenting. So you can't say I'm putting little Johnny's toys in the Goodwill bag because he didn't do whatever as the step parent, because that's parenting. That's not nachoing. People a lot of times go, well, that's my way of nachoing. No, you're not nachoing. Don't put our name on it, because that's not what you're doing. So for us, nachoing included me stepping back as far as cooking, because the kids would make comments about the cooking. What are we having for supper? I don't like that. And it was a big ordeal. So I stopped cooking. When they were here, David was responsible for preparing meals. If he didn't want to cook for my son and I, then we would do something else, but he always did. And a lot of people think that when I would say that I would not say hello to the stepkids, that I was being mean. No. When they would come in and I would say, hey, good to see you. Glad you're home. Did you have a good day? And they ignored me. It made me mad. So mad. And so by me not saying anything to them, it didn't give us a chance to have that negative interaction, which was basically non-interaction on their part. But if they came in and said, hey to me, of course I responded to them. Yeah. And there's a lady that had messaged me one day and she said, I've got a question. She said, I'm supposed to nacho these white towels. And I'm thinking, okay, they're her favorite towels. She got them as a wedding gift. She said, I know nachoing is me not picking these towels up, because I need to get my husband to pick them up so he can see his daughters leaving them and deal with the issue. And she went on, and I said, which causes you less stress? To think about those towels sitting on the floor, causing moisture and a smell and all that good stuff, mold, or you picking up the towels? She said, me picking up the towels. I said, then do that. She said, is that against nachoing? I said, nachoing is lowering the stress in the blend in whichever way works for you and your family.
Mm.
Yeah, that's so
Sometimes
good.
It's better just to pick up the towel.
No, I love that. Yeah, that is so good, because I think we can, man, I love how you said that though. Because I never quite thought of it that way, to whereas when the kids walk in, you still attempt, hey, how is your day? And then they're ugly back to you, to be able to step back and, not say anything, and just never create that opportunity for any aggression on either side, for them to be able to sling mud at you, or for you to be able to get hurt in that process, just to be able to kind of step back and say, you know what, I'm just not going to engage in here, because I know if I do that, they're probably going to be not nice to me. And I'm a super nice guy, so I don't know why they would want to be ugly to me, but that's okay. And then I'm going to get upset. I'm going to get my feelings hurt. Then I'm going to, go back, and then I might get angry at my spouse because of it, or I might get angry at them, or I might just be harboring all kinds of anger because of this. And it's all to where if you just step back and didn't say anything at all, and just, smiled and waved, kind of like the penguins on that one old show, smile and wave, boys.
Yeah. Well, it's just about letting the kids lead that part of the relationship.
Yeah.
If they walk in the door and they go, hey, Lori, how was your day? Then she would respond, my day was fine. How about yours? Now there's an engagement that happened, but you let the kids start that versus not doing that. And I know there's oftentimes people say, well, I went and talked to somebody and they just told me I just needed to keep doing it. I just need to keep asking. I need to keep doing. And I'm like, but is it working for you? And they're like, no, then stop.
And a lot of other parents put pressure on the step parent. You need to do more to get my child to like you or to interact with you.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier, if it's working, don't stop doing that. But even if part of it's working and you need to step back from the discipline, if you enjoy taking little Susie to get pedicures, continue to do those things. Don't just shut yourself off completely.
Yeah. I think another thing that a lot of people often miss is that whether you're doing nachoing or whether you're doing some other methodology or something else somebody gave you some advice on, typically your relationship is going to evolve over time. You're not going to be the same people you were 6 months ago or a year ago, especially when you're going through problems. Hopefully you're progressing through those things. And so the things you do early on are not the things you do in year 1 or year 2 or year 3. There's always a progression there. And so if somebody says, for example, if we're coaching a couple and we say, you shouldn't engage with the kids at all, let them engage with you first. If you've got a good relationship and you're 7 years in, that's not going to be the same thing I'm telling you. I'm not telling you not to do that because you're experiencing different challenges that have nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So are there some common things though that y'all see over and over that are what most people are needing to Nacho?
A lot of it is school. The stepmom seems to take over. And I say stepmom more because that's who come to us more. We do have plenty of stepdads that we deal with as well. But the step parent will get involved and put Power School on their phone. And they see little Johnny's missing an assignment. Oh no, that can't happen. So then they start saying something to little Johnny about, why didn't you do this? Little Johnny was at his mom's and he's like, well, my mom didn't make me. And so that person, the step parent, becomes involved in something emotionally that they don't need to be involved in emotionally. And they start fussing with the dad. You need to make him do his homework. And it just causes a triangulation effect when it needs to be more just a straight line. It needs to be a line between the parents of these kids working together and you supporting your significant other in the process.
Yeah. And I think at the core of all of it, really, people are just trying to do the right thing, right? Like they want to be, the stepmom wants to be a good stepmom, or in her case, she may even be, be mom. And she's trying to just do a good job and raise good kids. But the approach that they're doing it and the things that they're letting themselves get all riled up all goes back to them just fear of judgment, fear of people thinking they're not doing a good job in that position, which then kind of can also be rooted in some pride there. And so those are some things that I had to really get deep down and why does this bother me so much? And I was afraid that I was being judged by other parents out there. And I wanted to appear as if I was a good mom. And that came back from childhood trauma, of course, that always comes.
Right. And it's the motherly instinct to take over.
Yeah. But not only that, but you also have people around you, usually that aren't in a blended family, that like
your mama and your daddy and
your
sister.
Well, you need to be doing XYZ. You should be doing and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so no, don't do any of that.
That's the worst.
That's great if you're in a nuclear family. That's probably great advice. But in a blended family, it's different. I mean, that's how a lot of what we learned came about is, I mean, to laugh at your point in the very beginning where you're like, this is crazy advice.
We would have thought the same thing.
When we were discovering some of these things, we were like, I never would have thought that would have worked. How crazy is that? If somebody would have told me that, I'd been like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. I remember the first time David told me, he sent me a text and he said, Ethan cannot wait to talk to you when he gets home. I almost cried because it took a full year of what many would say disengaging, but there was a lot of self-growth for me during that time frame. I had to realize this isn't always about me. No matter how bad I'm hurting, I've got to see what the kids are going through and see that it doesn't matter if it was, the Queen of England that was their stepmom, they still wouldn't be happy about this.
I love what y'all are talking about though, because it's so easy for us whenever we start this journey, right? This blended family journey. We're wanting to do things right. We're wanting to be there for the kids. We're wanting to be that support for the kids. And we try to do all these things to benefit them and to show them love, show them support. And so, especially as blended families, a lot of times, where we go wrong is like we kind of talked in the beginning, we try to force it. We try to make it happen because this is right. This is good. And this is, we're teaching our kids. But we always, and we see this time and time again, and we were victims of this as well, is that we take the feelings of the kids out of the equation of what they're really going through. And whenever you think about that, like we brought that example, hey, how are you doing, how's your day? And then they're rah, rah, rah. That they're hurting on the inside because they don't understand this. They don't understand why mom and dad aren't together again, and they don't understand why my parents in a new relationship and what all this means. They're trying to figure all this out. And I think so often as adults, we just, well, it makes sense to us and this is the way it is. They should just get it. For us to be able to step back and, like you said, allow the kids to guide those relationships, that is the biggest and best advice that you could ever give, and help just, even if you're that bonus parent that you're stepping back. That doesn't mean you're not disengaging. You're there. You're letting them know, I love you. I'm not leaving. I'm here for you. And just whenever they're reaching, you're there and being that support as well. But it does take time.
Yeah, that was my next question that I really wanted us to clarify in this episode with nachoing is the fact that you nacho these behaviors, these things that cause stress in your life. These are the things you're not doing. What are the things you should be doing during this time of nachoing?
You should be supporting your partner. You should be, if you're interested. Now, you've got to remember, a lot of the people we deal with have been through it all. The stepkids trying to kill them, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So there are situations that people have no desire to have a relationship with their stepkids and vice versa. And we understand that. But you want to encourage, as a step parent, your partner. So if David's having a rough day and I saw the kids were acting out, I would say, I know today's been kind of hard for you, but you're a good dad. And if you aren't disciplining the kids, say for instance, I'm not going to help the kids get ready in the morning because they drive me crazy and they fight with me. So David's saying this is what they need to do, and he's telling them what to do. And I see that he's struggling a little bit. I can get his coat and keys and put them at the door. That's how I can help him with his parenting without me parenting his kids.
Yeah, it's a matter of that support piece that empowers the other parent, and we'll just say the dad. It empowers the dad to continue parenting and continue to take the front role that you really want to happen. Mm-hmm. I remember we used to get in sometimes even arguments whenever we would get an email from one of the exes. And we would spend an entire weekend trying to craft the perfect email back to
and
him.
Address every accusation.
And I remember one time Lori looked at me and she says, whatever decision you make, I stand behind it. And I'm like, wow. And it felt
that was self-development, y'all.
It felt so good. Yeah. Because up until that point, I always felt like no matter what I do, somebody's going to be mad. I'm either going to make my wife mad or my ex-wife mad or the kids mad. Somebody's going to be mad. So who do I want to piss off today? And that's, it's just a matter of picking the what is it? The best, worst, the worst, best, best, worst. I don't know. It's like, but it just was. I had to make several decisions like that. It's like, okay, I'm going to make somebody mad. So who do I want to make mad? But somebody's not going to like it.
Yeah.
But I'll just say all that to say it was very empowering, and it was great for our relationship to know that she literally could step away from that and say, I trust you to make the best decision you can make. And if it turns out to be not a great decision, I still stand behind you and we'll still move forward with whatever happens.
And, I had to nacho my in-laws as well. After creating Nacho, I realized I can nacho everything, Walmart, everything. And it has been such a relief, but David and I didn't set boundaries with his mom, or should I say David didn't set boundaries with his mom prior to us blending. So she had helped him so much with the kids. She would get them from school, fix dinner, clean up their room, get their homework started, all this stuff. She became mom, basically. And I didn't realize, because of my own hurt, that she was hurting because I pushed her out. All of a sudden, Dave was like, you can't just come up and rearrange the kitchen. You can't just come in and fix supper and feed the kids. We might have plans. And so there was a time that things got really, really heated between his mom and I. I mean, screaming match, bad. And it took a little while, but we have healed, just like with the stepkids. And we've rebuilt that relationship, understanding that this wasn't easy for anybody involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Looking back, there's so many mistakes that we made, and maybe that's why we can speak to so many of them. But, like one of them, we had read some books, and it was like, it takes 7 years to blend. And she and I joked, we were like, we're going to do this in like 2 years.
Because we're so competitive.
Yeah. We're going to, thinking back
for losers.
Yeah. Thinking back on it, I'm like, that's part of the problem, is that we tried to force everything to happen so fast that we caused the issues. And I would look at her and I would say, these are the things that you should be doing. You should be taking them to school, because at the time I had to go to work at like 4:30 in the morning. And so I'm like, you need to take the kids to school, which means you're going to have to get them up and make sure they're fed and make sure they're dressed, all this whole routine. And, they would make her late for work all the time. And it was one thing after another. And it's amazing, because some people often ask us, like, well, what do you do if your spouse is not going to take the kids to school for you? I was able to get them to school before her. And I found a way to get them to school while we were having issues.
Well, one thing he did was he told them, he said, if you make her late one more time, I don't care which one of you it is, y'all are all going to get up at 4:30 before I leave and get dressed and have everything done. So you'll be ready to walk out the door when she is. And one time that happened.
Yeah.
He made them get up early, and they were like, oh no.
Never again.
Out in the car waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was his way of supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times too, the step or the bio parent will say, I want you to discipline little Johnny, treat him like your own. And that sounds great. But once you fuss at little Johnny for being on the game too much or not doing his chores, they're like, wait a minute, don't fuss at my baby. So they want you to do all the responsibility things without the approval or what's the word I'm looking for?
You just don't have a relationship.
Well,
Yeah.
no.
Authority.
You didn't
Yeah.
Authority. That's it. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, my computer was not working.
But he gave me that authority, but he would take it back away. And the same with my son. I didn't want him parenting my son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, there are so many takeaways right there. I mean,
I know.
What y'all just said. No, I'm sitting there going, wow. Yeah. Talking for one, making mistakes. I think we hold a banner for that one as well, right? And the in-laws. I mean, you talk about the in-laws, and there are so many things when you become a blended family you don't think about, and you don't know to ask. I know whenever we had started our journey, when we didn't know about any of these issues or that would take place. And, it's a whole nother topic. We could do a whole nother few podcasts just talking about in-law relationships and the
Yes.
power and what to watch for and how to navigate through all of those. And, that, man, such great things. And then supporting your spouse. I think that's the biggest one. What y'all said about supporting your spouse, and that is huge, and so I hope all the listeners are grabbing this right now. I know they're all probably writing everything down going, holy smokes, this is so good. But being able to step back from some of these situations and just be that support for your spouse whenever they're already feeling inadequate, when they're already feeling frustrated, because we're always, especially at the beginning stages, we're already dealing with so much. Our kids are hurting. We're still hurting. Our, the relationship with our trying to co-parent, it's like that struggling. That sucks. And how does all that work? And and then if your spouse is sitting alongside doing the same thing to you, you feel defeated. And just for your spouse to be that support for you and you to be that support for your spouse, I think starting there is big. That's just, if you can start anywhere, starting there in your marriage, supporting each other and just kind of carrying that.
Well, and I think that's where people get Nacho wrong and where that misunderstanding, because when I hear people talk about it, is they're doing it out of this like hateful, spiteful bitterness, like, oh, I'm Nacho and let's see how he figures this one out.
Or watch this train wreck. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fixing to see this plane crash and burn. And then we're applauding it because we want to see them fail, because we want them to see how valuable we are, right? And so it's all about that pride in us. And I think even with the step kids, like, watch, I'm going to step back and I'm going to watch them have to struggle through this. And that's where I think what y'all's message is, and where people are getting it wrong, is you're not saying go at it with the evil spirit behind it, right?
Right. And you know, when we started doing this, my Nachoing wasn't out of love for my stepkids. I'm not going to lie to you. They hated me and the feeling was mutual. And I know hate is a very strong word and I should use a different one, but that's how it felt. But it was love for my husband. It was love for David. And I did care about these kids. I didn't wish them any harm. I didn't care if they ever came back, but I didn't want anything bad to happen to them. But you've got to remember, people will say, but they're kids, they're kids. These kids were trying to destroy my marriage. They were lying, and some of it was perception, which we could have another podcast on. But they were telling stories, making David think I was abusing them when I would tell them to do something, you know, pick that up. Oh, so that's abuse. That's abuse. Crazy stuff.
I'm calling somebody.
Yeah. And so it's hard to look at these kids as kids and look at them and have sympathy and empathy when they're trying to ruin your life.
Yeah.
But you have to step back from it and realize, wait a minute, this is a hot mess. They're struggling. I'm struggling. The simple thing is, if I could go back to how our relationship was prior to us getting married, things would be better. And you kick into like the dating mode again. It's, I'm taking care of my son. I'm focusing on my relationship with David, and he takes care of his kids.
Yeah.
So can people go through, because we're going to, I know there's so much more that we want to ask you guys, but we'll start wrapping it up now. Can people just decide right now today, I'm going to Nacho without going through the academy, just from the information that we got? Or do y'all suggest that they sign up in that? Or is there something like a baby step they could start in and see if this is for them?
Well, let me say, I'm going to let David handle this one, but let me say, the Facebook group is a hot mess. I know that, but I also know that people do find help in that group. And when somebody comes in and says, I hate my stepkids, I'm ready to just leave, I understand why. So that's why that group still exists, because people do want help. You might have 28,000 members and only 10% really want help. The rest want to vent. Yep. So the advice in the Facebook group, unless it comes from myself or David or my moderators, we don't endorse it. So if it's coming from another member that's struggling in the muddy waters, then they're where you are. Why are you going to take their advice? They don't know what they're talking about.
But I call the Facebook group the fly trap. Yeah. Down south, we have the glue traps, that you string up.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I call that the Facebook group, because there's tons of people there and they all are stuck.
Yeah.
And so you look at it, it's not like when you drive by a restaurant and you see a line out the door, that usually means it's good. In this case, when you see a bunch of people, it's not good, because they're all struggling and they're all trying to help you and they're struggling. And so it's like everybody's drowning. You ever seen drowning people try to help each other? They're just pulling each other down.
Blind leading the blind, right?
But there's a lot of free information that we have on our website and through our podcast and other venues. But
yeah, I mean, it's the way I look at it is, it's kind of like Lori and I went to one of those sip and paint things one time, where you go in and they have you do a canvas, and she and I, neither one have ever did any canvas painting. And so,
and it was obvious
we're doing this canvas painting thing. And it, but I recall by the end of the day, I'm thinking, or in the night, this is what, an hour or two thing. But I'm like, you know what? I probably could have painted that at home watching some video, but it would have took me 10 times longer and it probably wouldn't have been as good. And that's kind of the way the academy is. Like, there's plenty of information out there that we put out ourselves, and you may be able to figure it all out and do it, but it's going to take you 10 times longer and probably not be as good, because you don't have that direct interaction with us whenever you're just taking the content from the site and all that and reading it. So it's just a matter of which one is right for you.
And if you do it wrong, it can have very detrimental results.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't wake up on Monday morning and tell your husband, I'm not taking your bratty kid to school anymore. Good luck. That's not Nacho, and that's being a blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you know, people always say you got one chance to make a first impression. Starting Nacho and is like, you got one chance to start it right. And if you don't, it can really mess things up.
Yeah. So good. So good. Man, yeah, this is one of those we could talk forever. You know, you know, the more and more we talk, the more and more, man, just so many good things. I know just even from this podcast alone, people are grabbing some good information, some good wisdom. So we want to thank both of you for joining us for this podcast. And we really want to encourage any listener right now that if this has resonated, if this is just kind of where you're at, if you're struggling, if you're having some issues, and you know, you've tried everything, but you're not getting the results, there are resources out here. You know, Nacho Kids, check out their academy. Where can they find y'all at? Can you maybe kind of give us that real quick before we do wrap up and leave?
Yeah. And I also want to tell you what the academy involves really quick.
Yeah, please.
We've got video courses, over 25 video courses, like how to deal with a high conflict bio mom, how to deal with the holidays, summer vacations, things like that. And then we have a Nacho Bootcamp. And it's a 30-day challenge, which teaches the step parent how to nacho properly and gives them, a lot of people say tools for your toolbox. We give you a garage in the academy. And one of my favorite challenges we have is the change your stinking thinking. But you got to get there first. You can't jump straight into that course. You've got to do the boot camp first to be able to benefit from it, because each one is teaching you something different. Yeah. And you can find us at nachokids.com, nachokidzacademy.com. We're on Instagram, Nacho Kids, Facebook page, Nacho Kids, the Facebook group, Beware. I call it the Island of Misfit Stepmoms. But you can get some advice in there. I don't want everybody to think it's horrible, but just be prepared. There's some hurt people in that group.
Well, I honestly don't even know which Facebook group is y'all's. I just know I'm a part of several, because when we first started this, you know, that's the advice. Go find some other people doing it and see what they're talking about. So unless it's called Nacho Kid Facebook group, I have no idea which one is y'all's group. So just putting that out there.
It's called Nacho Kids, the blending saver. Nacho Kids, the blended family lifesaver.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I haven't even been on y'all. So this is just like other step family forum kind of like help out there that
people have gone and formed their own and their own and their own.
Oh yeah. And I forgot the academy. We also have 2 Q&A coaching calls a month with David and I. And we have a private community where you don't have to deal with the Facebook stuff. And we have a private journaling feature and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of resources. I mean, we pour a ton of resources out there. But that said, like she said about the toolkit and all that, we can give you the tools, but if you're not going to use them, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You can buy a membership to a gym. That's not going to get you in shape.
That's right. That's right.
You know, you got to put the work in.
Yep.
No,
thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, no, thank y'all for joining us. You know, this is part of it, right? We all have hearts because we've all been through this. I know we've made so many mistakes along the way and have learned so much through it. I'm sure just like y'all have talked about as well. And, you know, just we want everyone to know that there are resources out there and everyone connects with everyone differently. And so that's kind of our hearts, is to expose, you know, blended families to as many resources as possible. Do what connects with you and who you connect with. And we just want everyone to know that they're not alone, you know,
exactly.
And, that they're not alone in this. And it's not easy. You know, it's kind of like, you know, counseling. You know, we feel like everybody needs counseling. You know, we all need counseling, but, you know, being able to be in a blended family coaching realm, it's invaluable. You know, I mean, there's so many different things that you're going to come across, so many different situations, and to be able to connect with coaches out there, you know, that's where it's at, to help you navigate through some of that. That way you don't have such a rough time. So I love that y'all's resources as well at how it stair steps. You got the 30-day challenge, and then that leads into some other things, because you can't just sit there and, and all of a sudden say, hey, I need to work on me. Hardly anyone ever comes to that
It's always
realization
someone
at
else's
first.
fault. Yeah.
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 That was not easy when I realized that I was kind of a major part of the problem.
I tried to tell you.
He did. It just wasn't received well. Like you said earlier, you hear something from
I tell you, it's one of the, I think it was the first therapy session we went to with the marriage counselor. I swear I sat there the whole time going, I've told her every bit of the stuff he's telling her.
Yeah, but you were being
Yeah.
mean.
And now we had to pay money to hear the same thing. I don't
I
understand.
know. It was well worth it though. I'm
Yeah.
telling you.
Right.
She walk out there like, oh my gosh, that was so good. I'm like, oh. But it's funny because we actually have some other like marriage and family therapists that we coach, and it's funny because they'll say the same thing, like, I know what needs to be done, but it can't come from me because it won't be received well.
That's
Right.
right. Yeah. It's kind of like the kids. They don't listen to the parents. It takes that
Right.
outside resource to come and say
Hey.
the same thing. And you're like, oh, I told you.
Yeah. But let me tell you something. That's an advantage the step parent can have.
Mhm.
The step kids will tell me stuff they won't tell him for
Ah.
either one, to see if they should tell him, two, how they should tell him, or want me to tell him for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's the buffer.
The buffer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I can talk to them now and tell them how a parent, I'm sorry, a parenting type suggestion, because they know it's coming from a place of love, not judgment or criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the relationship she has with them now, complete 180. But that's, again, you have to get there, and it takes time. It takes sometimes a lot of time. Somebody asked one time, they joined the academy, was like, how long does it take? I'm like, it takes as long as it takes. I mean, it does. It just takes as long as it takes.
Yeah,
That's
'cause
on
it took
you,
me a
bro.
year. Yeah, that's on you, bro. Yeah. Because it took a year for me to re-engage with them because there was so much hurt and we all had to heal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They needed that time and I did too.
Yeah. No, and I love hearing that. And that was a question I was fixing to ask, because I thought about it before we leave, but just for everyone to hear this. So y'all's relationship now with the kids, complete 180, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Complete 180. I will message the kids and talk to them separately, and he'll say, yeah, Ethan, blah, 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 or Branson. I'm like, yeah, I know. I talked to him.
Yeah. I don't feel stressed out leaving her and the kids alone in the same house, which was a thing at one time.
Yeah, it was.
Like,
I mean,
what's
literally,
happening?
It's like I'm running to the store to get some gas, and the whole time I'm like, I gotta hurry up, gotta hurry up. Everything's gonna blow up if I don't hurry up and get back home.
Mhm.
And we had to put cameras in the house and everything else because
Wow.
you got to see what's happening, because there's all these different stories. And I mean, I'm telling you, I can't explain to people how much of a hot mess we were in. It was bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
So
I'm
I
so
know
glad.
if we can do it, other people can do it. They can come back.
And just to hear that, and I think that's encouraging for everyone. And we're in the same boat. Things were just so crazy and so much in a mess. But now, even before we started sitting down and talking with you, my daughter's calling her instead of calling me.
Uh-huh.
It's like they just have this amazing relationship now. And it's, and I want to encourage everyone to know that, we were all in such a big mess. But like you said, David, if we can do it, you can do it, right? And so
Yep.
it's kind of one of those that when you put in the time, you put in the hard work, and you connect with these resources, you jump in on coaching, you jump in on this stuff, and you really go at it with a full heart. Man, that turnaround is right there, and it takes time, but man, you'll get there, and it is beautiful. It really is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before we
Yes.
sign off, can y'all tell us what is y'all's favorite thing to do as a blended family?
Well, unfortunately, 3 of his kids went into the military. So one was in Japan for a while, one was in California for 5 years, or whatever, however long. One's in Germany right now. So we haven't all been together in quite some time.
Mhm.
But one of our favorite things to do is for Halloween, we would go get pumpkins. We never let them carve them because boys and knives, not a good situation. So we would always paint them. Well, I'm sorry, we would hide them in the woods, and they would go find them, like kind of like Easter egg hunting with flashlights.
That's
And
awesome.
then everybody would get their pumpkin and we'd bring it back and paint it. And then the day after Thanksgiving, we would destroy it in different fashions, whether it's run over with the golf cart or the go-kart, blow it up with a gun, the
The
4-wheeler.
fireworks,
Yeah,
whatever.
fireworks. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the one time of the year I would hand them a shotgun and say, make sure you point it at, you know, and so they love that. So yeah, that's
And playing games. We love playing games.
yeah, board games
Yeah.
and stuff. But that came from the whole pumpkin thing came from when I got divorced. I knew that I needed to create some kind of traditions for my new family that was just for me. And I started with just my kids before I even met Lori, but I just wanted to create these new traditions that were fun and try to get them to not look at, oh, you know, we're not a family together with mom anymore. And, you know, we're missing out on all this stuff. So I just completely created all this new stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Sims family pumpkin hunt is what starts that whole tradition.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
love it.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's and that, you know, that's what we love, and we always try to portray is we got to create these fun moments together because that creates bonding moments. And so it's so, you know, it's so key. There's so many challenges, so many frustrations that come with blended families, but man, whenever we can create these fun, exciting moments that the kids look forward to, you look forward to, that's golden, right? And so trying to
Right. And we
cherish
can
those
even
moments.
laugh. We can
Yes.
even laugh about the bad times that happen, like the Yoo-hoo incident. Yoo-hoo gate is what we call it. Yeah. We can laugh at that stuff now.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you too so
Yeah.
much. Really, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Well, B fam, I hope I know you're walking away with me just saying, man, there were so many takeaways from this. You know, there were a lot of valuable information. And then I want you to be encouraged. You know, you're not alone. You're not going through this alone. We've been there. There's so many people that have been there, and we're here for you. Don't ever feel like you're going through it alone. And check out these resources. We're going to put Nacho Kids. We'll put their link down in the show notes. That way, if any of that's resonated with you, you want to check out their boot camp, their 30-day boot camp, man, go do that. Go check that out and connect with them. But the thing is, you know, it's here for you. When you put in the time, you put in the work, beauty is on the other side. It's right there. It's right there for you. So just be encouraged. Be encouraged. So listen, we love you, B fam, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope this episode has been a blessing and encouraged your family journey.
Make sure you stay connected with us and join our weekly Blended Family newsletter. We send an email out every Friday morning full of support and encouragement.
And when you join, we also want to give you a free gift. So go get yours today. The link is in the show notes below.
Have an amazing day. Remember to enjoy the journey with your blended family, and we'll see you on the next episode.